Welcome to the 36th Annual Los Angeles Asian Pacific Film Festival, presented by Visual Communications. My name is Shannon Sarikaku, and I am the Guest Services Coordinator for the festival. Thank you all for hanging out with us today at C3 Converse, presented by Nielsen. We have some great panels that have happened today and more to come, so please stick around. And I also want to mention that we have a special previewing premiere party of the Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives for the Park's Finest today at 5:30 p.m. So please be sure to stick around. And now we're up to our next panel. I'm going to introduce Melanie for The Girl Who Left Home.
Welcome to the LA Asian Pacific Film Festival, presented by Visual Communications. My name is Melanie. I'm a programmer, and I'm zooming in from Elk Grove, California, land of the Miwok people. If you would like closed captions, we're dropping a link in the chat right now. If you need those closed captions, click on that and it will bring you to a new window that will open with the audio transcript. I'd like to thank everyone for making this festival possible, especially the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, Sony Pictures Entertainment, Comcast, NBC Universal, California Arts Council, SAG-AFTRA, Producers Industry Advancement and Cooperative Fund, the National Endowment for the Arts, and HBO and Warner Media. And special thanks to all the community partner organizations for their valued work and continued support of Visual Communications. Let's start our artist conversation. I'd like to welcome our guest today, Mallory, Emmy, Haven, and Paulo of The Girl Who Left Home. Each of you guys go ahead and let us know who you are and what you did on the film.
I am Mallory Ortega. I am the writer, director, producer, and lyricist of The Girl Who Left Home.
Hi, I'm Haven Everly, and I play Christine in The Girl Who Left Home.
Hi, I'm Emmy Colligato, and I play Mary in The Girl Who Left Home.
Hi, I'm Paolo Montalban, and I play Tito Tony in The Girl Who Left Home.
Yay!
Thanks for being here, guys. I just wanted to start off, let's start off with an easy question to Mallory, with kind of the conception of the film and like how it started for you and what inspired you to write this story.
Yeah, the funny thing is this film used to be called Nanaiko, which means, you know, it's an endearing way to say my mother in Tagalog. And the story was based off of my own imagination being like, man, I just want to take my mom out to the bar. Like, how fun would that be? And then I just imagined that and I wrote it down and how like my mom would probably feel so uncomfortable getting in a stranger's car for a ride share. She would probably think I'm crazy for wanting to, you know, take a lot of drinks at the bar. And I just, you know, her giving her that experience here in America and socializing with friends and being able to relax in that way. And so once I wrote that scene, I just, you know, discovered more about these two characters and how their journey would play out in a feature form. And then, you know, once we started to shoot the film with this wonderful cast here and the involvement of the musical story aspect, and then even in editing, it was very clear that our story had evolved more into focusing on the actual younger girl, the girl who left home, than the mother. Though, of course, the mother is such a huge part of the story, and that's just how the story evolved.
So my second question is the musical part of it. So it started off as you wrote it as a just pure narrative, and then when did the kind of musical aspect start coming in for you?
Well, almost immediately, because I set the scene in a karaoke bar, and I was like, of course they're gonna sing, and of course the Filipinos can sing, and they're gonna bring down the house, and everyone's gonna cheer. And it just, musicals has always been a big part of my life. My parents would let us watch The Sound of Music over and over and over again. Like, I could recite the whole movie if I wanted to. And so it just made sense to keep that aspect in the film because my family is very musically inclined. We still break out into song, which I know Haven and her sisters do as well. And it's just something that you really connect to as a family, as a culture. And in musicals, I think that it really enhances a situation and an emotion for an inner character's wants and needs. And yeah, it was just kind of a plan since day one.
Let's throw it to the cast. Let's start with Haven. So Haven, I was just looking up into your IMDb, and then this is kind of like your first feature, I think so. And then not only is it your first feature, it's also your first leading role in a feature. Can you talk about how you felt kind of going into shooting the film, and then also talk about your experience working with these like actors that are well established with Emmy and Paulo?
Yeah. So this film is definitely was my first big role as the lead and playing like a young Filipino woman. At first, when I first read the script, I cried and I was like, I really just want to be a part of this movie. However, I can just integrate myself in. If I'm like bussing the table, then I'm happy that I got to be a part of this movement. And when I found out that I got the lead, I was in utter shock. And then this like amount of pressure that I never felt before was like on my shoulders. But I think what drove like my determination to do well and to continue to do my best was knowing that this could really positively impact the Filipino American community, and me being like kind of the newbie amongst like these legends, Emmy and Paulo, and I felt like I was always in the learner's seat, which was an honor for me. Like I got the privilege to work with such seasoned professionals and really learn at such a short amount of time. And so I took it as like a gift, and I took it as an opportunity to just grow and learn and like keep up. And I think being the youngest is kind of already like that. So it's like, it wasn't in my family, so it wasn't too hard to like keep up, and they're so supportive and open. So that pressure was lifted, and it more so became about the story than my inner thoughts as an actor or my inner fears. And we all felt like a family like throughout the whole process, so that made it that much easier too.
Talking before with you guys in the green room, it definitely felt like you guys had this kind of family bond throughout shooting it. And then you still probably have it right now, even though you guys are all far apart. You guys wanted to watch it together and feel that love that you guys had during the filmmaking of it. I want to talk to Emmy and Paulo. You guys, again, well-established seasoned actors that usually probably get roles that are not specifically Filipino in this industry. And how did it feel to have a role kind of for you? It was made for you. It's like specifically Filipino. It's, how do you feel in these characters?
It was pretty amazing. Like I was telling somebody, when I was shooting, I was like, gosh, I'm so happy. I love working, but there was something that was just different. And then it dawned on me, it was like, it's because I'm doing a Filipino film. It's the first role I've played that was specifically written for a Filipino woman. I've been doing this for a long time, and this was the first time I got to play a lead role that was a Filipino role written by a Filipino woman. And I just was like, I felt like a whole person. And I was like, you know what? This is what white actors get to experience all the time. And I finally didn't feel small. Mallory allowed me to improvise. I was a well-rounded character. I didn't have to make myself small. I could be who I wanted to be. So it was really like, it kind of surprised me. It was more than I had thought I could dream for, You're on mute, Paolo.
That's why my thoughts were also on mute for a second there. Yeah, you know, it's a great question because it's a question that we don't get to answer much, you know, in the field that we do. Certainly aren't a whole lot of Filipino American musicals. There certainly aren't a whole lot of Filipino American musical movies. But I will say this. I will say that this is one of the first parts where I didn't have to research the character as much as I needed to, because I know I have so many gregarious titos and ninongs in my life that I could tap into them directly. I'm sorry, tito and ninong, that's the Tagalog respectful term for uncle. And so it was already at the surface. And I hate to say it, but it's kind of like those no acting required moments. You know what I mean? I'm just kind of showing up like my Tito Vladi or any of my uncles back in the Philippines. So yeah, it was a really special experience being able to do that, to tap into not just the Filipino culture so deeply, but also the Filipino American experience, immigrant experience deeply like that.
That was so funny. The characters, yes, I feel like every character in the film was somebody in my family. Like I could just, like the auntie with the $20 bills everywhere, and then like Tito just like making these funny jokes everywhere. I loved it. It was great. One of my favorite scenes is where Tito Tony and the mom are on the phone and she is just hung over. I love it. It's so funny. You guys aren't even in the room together, or maybe you were, but you weren't in the room together. And you were just talking about improv. Was this something that was written, like all the words written, or did you do a lot of improv in that scene?
The Lord's Prayer was, you want Mallory?
I'm going to jump in really quick and then I'll hand it off to Paolo and Emmy. They were in the room together for both of their scenes, but you know, I said in the Cinema Sala Q&A last night, and I'll say it here again, it was like down to the wire, and we were going to shoot soon, and I was like so stressed out, and you know, had a couple drinks, and it was like 2 a.m. and I was trying to organize stuff with Angelo, and I was like, no, but they need a scene together. They're so funny. They're so great. And so I wrote this scene really late at night, and the next morning I was like, wow, I'm a great writer when I'm not fully there. That's amazing. And then on the day, you know, I was like, okay, Emmy, I want you to go from here to here. And she's like, oh, but this is all I say. I'm like, yeah. And so that's when Emmy and Paolo had a chance to improv. So I'll hand it off.
React scene.
Yeah, we just improv the Lord's Prayer because the Lord is there all the time. And, you know, you have all the statues. So, you know, the atmosphere just lent to it. And then Paolo.
Oh, well, I mean, like part of it too is also, once again, being Filipino, being so Filipino and in the best possible way, at least for me, being, you know, a Roman Catholic Filipino, practicing Roman Catholic. And sometimes you're talking to relatives who are far away and they're going through some stuff. And the only way that you can really reach out to them on a deep level is sometimes through prayer over the phone. Like you're there praying with each other over the phone. So to me, at first, it wasn't like something that I wanted to be intentionally funny. But the funny happens because one thing is happening and another thing is happening in my mind. One thing is happening to Emmy's character, and another thing is happening in my mind about her.
Exactly. And fun fact, the vomit was made out of oros caldo and ovotin. So it was both sweet and savory.
On the lines of improv as well, Tito Tony with all his lines, I don't know if those were those all written or were those just like on the fly?
I don't know. I thought a lot of it was written, but Mallory says that some of it was not.
I
I'm not
think,
sure. You
I mean,
recall,
I
Mel.
think by the time, you know, that we all spent a lot of time together, you were doing more improv stuff. And I was like, this is gold. Like, you know, when you're in the office with Haven and you're like, you're in charge. And then you're like, it's gonna be lit, which I wrote. But then you're like, yeah, oh yeah, you know, like you're doing all this physical stuff that was like, I did not write that, but it's gold.
Glad you kept it in.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? Sorry. If anybody has questions, feel free to write a question in the chat. I'm glad to ask your questions to the panel. I wanted to kind of, I was just talking to Haven before. We're both from the Sacramento area, and I just came back home to help my parents during this quarantine time. And I definitely felt a connection to this character a lot because, you know, you feel the struggles, you're a grown person and you come back home and you're kind of just like butting heads with your family. How did you, Haven, kind of connect with your character with all the like struggles she was having in this time in her life?
It's I think it took a lot of just for me just studying. You know, she's actually there's a lot of similarities to her and me, with her growing up with two girls she used to sing, and she had a mom who used to sing. All those things we connected with. But as far as personality goes, Christine's a lot more guarded. So I had to really understand that she's going through you know, the stages of grief, you know, denial, you know, bargaining, and all, understanding that in the script and knowing how she responds to it. Because I think, like, recently I went through something really traumatic, and I'm very open. I'll cry, I'll sob, I'll hug, I'll tell everybody how I feel. Like, that's just me as a person. But Christine is like, let me handle this, let me take control, and she like guards herself up. So it required a lot of course, not judging her and kind of substituting who I felt, you know, was more suited to her character. And then knowing that she probably had some sort of expectation of like, I'm not going back until I can prove myself. And I think that that really helped me understand when she goes back how hard it was for her to see her family and know that this was out of her control, and this wasn't what she pictured. Like, she wanted to like go back and be like, ha, look, mom and dad, I did it, you know. But instead she's going back and facing the reality of things that she doesn't have any control over, and she's fighting for that control constantly. And then, I mean, toward the end of the film, you'll see like that only lasts for so long. So I think that that really helped me understand her and like not judge her when she was really like defensive or, you know, guarded. She's just really hurt, and she's just really trying to understand how to maneuver her emotions.
I also want to talk about your experiences, kind of like the singing parts, the musical parts. Again, another favorite scene is in the house making the pandesal. It's like this one shot, kind of all the way around the house, singing, dancing. How did you feel about that experience? Kind of like doing it all. I don't know if it was all in one take, but doing it all at once there.
Yeah, so that was all live. So I remember Mallory telling me, okay, there's gonna be 2 live songs. It's gonna be Emmy's song at the end, and then your song in the house. And so what that required was me having the pianist. He was upstairs, and then we had I had like him in my ear essentially, and it was all kind of by vibe. He heard my mic, and he kind of went with it, and we shot that 8 times just to get there's a oneer, which is like, you know, the videographer goes, you know, one way through, so there's no choppiness, and it's all cohesive. So we had to do it 8 times to make sure we got the right take and the right shot. And surprisingly, vocally, I feel more comfortable singing. So you know, that's what my original passion has always been, with like my sisters and things like that. So I was excited to do this. Like, this felt more like home for me, like singing live. It was more so like the lip singing and the acting that I felt a lot of pressure to like really show up and do my best. But that was like, okay, let's do it 20 times, you know, as long as my body is warm and my, you know, my vocals are warm. And it's so funny though. I think that it was really hard for the videographer, because imagine him having to walk backwards the entire time. And there's a shot where he's going around the island, and he would always like bump his hip against the corner of the island, or like he would always be precautious because I open things up and I like grab things, and he's like trying to get out of the way. So I was trying to be cognizant, you know, of him and my spatial awareness while still singing and emoting what she's trying to convey. So there was a lot of moving parts, but I thought that it turned out so well, and the vision of Mallory's was incredible. So I'm really happy that you guys liked it.
Yeah, that was 8 takes. That's not a lot. That's pretty good. That's a great scene. Again, with another singing scene, Emmy in the karaoke bar, surprising everybody with her vocals. How did you feel about kind of getting out there and showing the youngins how it goes down?
You know, I haven't sung in a long time. That's how I started my career. So to come back to doing a musical that was on film was super exciting for me, and also nerve-wracking. And that particular song, the Karaoke Scene, I called Haven. I was like, hey, could you help me sing this? Because I'm not very, like, I'm more classically trained, and I don't embellish at all. And no riffs. I don't riff. So she helped me like kind of stylize it like somebody who might, you know, have a little more pop in vibe to their music. And so Haven helped me.
I just remember a conversation, like I was trying to teach her like the growls and the huffs in the beginning, like or and so like you just like imagining our conversation, just like, okay, Nana, just like
Yeah.
you know, like,
I want that lesson.
Yes.
I'll sign up for that class.
I highly recommend taking a lesson from Haven. Seriously. Stylization, it's, oh man, she's so good.
Well, you killed
She
it.
helped me with that song. And then the last song was more so like musical theater style, which I'm more comfortable with. And that song, like that song did the work for me. Like Alex Winkler, our composer, and the lyricist Mallory and Steve Grice, like it did the work. I don't know, like the lyrics, the composition just did all the work. So that one felt pretty like, yeah, like I didn't have to do anything on that one.
So this goes out to everybody. What was if anybody had a particular favorite like scene to shoot, and if there's a story behind why it was your favorite? Anybody?
I mean, I love that we talked about the Emmy Paolo scene, because that is my favorite scene. No, like hands down. And I felt like it was so fun too, because Emmy is such a great comedic actress. I don't think she gets enough credit. Every time she's on set, she just like, boom, I know what to do. Her timing is amazing. And just like, I didn't realize how good she was until she was crawling on the floor, and just her physical acting is like, you say so much without even showing your face. And it was just so fun. And we were all in the back just like crying from laughter, trying so hard not to laugh and like ruin the take. And Paolo was like in a corner just like this, you know. And it was just like a fun, I guess it was my favorite too, because it was just a surprising scene that we all had a lot of fun shooting. And it's not like detrimental to the plot. It's just this fun moment with the siblings, and I feel like you got to know a lot about them in a minute and a half without being like, you're my brother, yes, you're my sister, you know. I think it was just a surprising moment on set. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of scenes that were my favorite for various reasons, but that's always the one I'm like, everyone was dying on the floor. This was a scene Haven wasn't in, and she was next to me cracking up, you know. It was just such a light moment when we have been like so dark for so long in all the serious drama. So yeah.
I don't have a favorite scene, but I gotta say, if people out there have not worked on a Filipino set, I really encourage you to work on a Filipino set because the food was good. We got to eat the lechon afterwards. And Mallory's mom and dad own that Filipino restaurant that we shot in. We were in, that was their actual house. So like, we came in and it was just like, okay, take off your shoes, take off your coat, get comfy, go lay down on that couch over there. So I recommend anybody out there, put your money into a Filipino film and go work on that set because it is a party. I was so happy every day. It honestly, best film, TV, commercial job I've ever had. And I'm old. So.
But I might be older. That being said, you know, there's that classic thing of the tone of a any project that you do, even if it's not in the arts, any project that you do, the tone is set from the top. And it's set from the people at the top, which is Mallory and our amazing producers and our amazing DP and the crew. And I'm just going to say that work on this kind of set. And if you even go into overtime, you will never feel stressed out. You'll never feel like there's pressure being put on you as an actor because, oh, they're running behind. They still let you do your work and in the best possible way. I remember one of my favorite moments was when we were shooting, it was my song, we were in the kitchen, and it was this moment where we're all kind of like having a party because we figured out like, oh, we can actually do this, we can save the restaurant. And then Emmy walks in, and one of our co-workers is like still singing and riffing. And so I try and point out to him that Emmy's right behind him, but I'm like using my lips, like, because that's a classic Filipino thing to do. So I'm going like this, I'm going, and Mallory would just let us go with it. And like, I don't know if we would get that same kind of freedom on another set or with a different group. But if you get to work with this group again, definitely support them, plug money into all their projects. They're so great to work with.
Yeah, and for just to piggyback on what everyone was saying, like, I think I was in a lot of the scenes, but I think it didn't feel draining. I mean, only the time when I had to be drained, like, you know, when the character needed to be, like, for the funeral scene and things like that. But I know that because this was my first major, you know, film, the bar is set really high, you know, and it was so magical to be able to work and to connect with so many people every day in and out, and us all being open to helping each other out and all being so supportive and, you know, having relationships and friendships that, you know, are long lasting. Like, I think every day was an adventure and a learning experience. And I think it's hard to pinpoint one moment. I think the 17 days of shooting was also magical that we're just like, it's hard to pinpoint one time or one scene.
Yeah, and I'll say that, you know, there were so many things that I had forgotten to tell people because I was wearing, you know, multiple hats, not just the writing, directing, producing, lyric writing, but it was like, for example, the one scene when like the engagement party is happening, it's like a long take. I just forgot to tell everyone. And I was like, oh yeah, we're shooting this in one take. And they're like, oh, okay. And, you know, everyone just kind of went with it. Like, you know, I know they're even, you know, Matt was like, I forgot we were doing that. I was like, yeah, remember we talked about this? Didn't I? Okay, you know, it's fine, you know, and everyone, you know, every step of the way, everyone was so gung-ho to try something different and try something new. And I would throw things at them, whether it was intentionally or accidentally forgetting to tell them. And I think that this group of people, you know, they were just so committed and just so fun to try new things. And it was truly like an amazing experience that, you know, once we all left that last day, we were all just so sad. We were so sad. I was sad. Even my mom was like waving goodbye to us in the van. We were all going back to LA, and she was like a sad mom being like, bye, kids.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, I think I went through a depression afterwards because it was just such a high. And it was like, that's never going to happen again. That was such a unique situation. It felt like we had Filipino ancestors watching over us, making things happen. It was incredible.
Gorgeous.
Nice. So you guys filmed this on location is it Maryland? Is that where you guys were at? So were you guys pretty much together all the time as you know, shooting and kind of like living together and stuff like that? How was that experience?
It was an amazing experience. I mean, yeah, so I'm like one of 5 girls in my family, and so my parents have this big house, you know, and the whole crew lived in my parents' house. And like I'm telling you, like because my grandparents used to live with us, we had so many beds, so many rooms, and the crew lived in my parents' house. Most of them did. So there's maybe like 15 of us in one house. And then the actors got to stay together in their hotels. And like what was unfortunate was like I would see them like having fun and partying over there, and I'm like, I want to be over there. But then we'd have like photos of us hanging out in the house. They're like, why can't we just do this together? I'm like, I don't know. But it was yeah, we at least the crew, we lived together, and it was kind of funny to like wake up, everyone's like groggy, you know, we would make breakfast, we'd all eat breakfast together. And the days we were shooting at the house, we're like, okay guys, time to go to work. And then we would just like go into the living room and like start shooting, you know. And then at the end of the day, we would, you know, go home together, eat dinner together, go to bed, and then do the same thing over and over. And it's like you just never got tired of it. I never got tired of it. Yeah.
That just shows like you definitely built that atmosphere, and that kind of place, or a safe place where everybody could be artistic and share their talents, and then still and not be tired. I want to talk to Mallory about your kind of experience as, you know, all the hats, but also your experience working with the music part, because that was a big part of the film. Was it very collaborative? Did you work with one person in particular? And then, yeah, just talk about that process.
Sure, yeah. So I think Alex Winkler, our composer, was one of the first people I talked to about the project. And we were talking like 2015 or 16, like I think it was 2016. I don't remember, but you know, we started collaborating sometime in 2016, and we were, you know, we knew we were going to do this independently. We were going to do crowdfunding. So our first steps together, just to see if we could work together, was to make pitch campaign songs, and it would be about Nanaiko, which was what it was called at the time, and how like the journey of Christine is conflicted. And it was such an incredible experience that we were like, oh, we work really well together, and we're like pretty quick. And then once it came more towards the development of the script, and we knew we were going to shoot it, and we had a deadline, I brought over my friend Steve Geist, and he is even more so of like a poet and a lyricist than I am. He has a lot of background in musical theater, and then like it was really just about like learning from each other. And what would happen sometimes is like, okay, Alex, like, this is like the feeling I'm going for. I don't really know what the lyrics are, but here's some like temporary words. Like, it's not beautiful. Just, these are the feelings. And he would send us a track, and we're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's exactly the feeling. Then we would reshape the lyrics, edit it so that it was, you know, very musically, just rhythmically, and the words were like exactly what they needed to be to make it more catchy and more powerful. And we worked very quickly. Like I was very shocked, you know, like musicals take a really long time. Like if you look at La La Land, you know, they developed for 8 years, and finally they released it. And here we are 4 years later, like we did it in half the time. And I'm so proud of what we did within, I believe we only had 2 years to make those songs. And myself, Steve, and Alex were just so, I feel like we think very similarly, and we can riff off of each other, and we don't really, you know, if there were never really any problems, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's just like, oh, but what about this? Oh, what about this? And it would just build up that way until it was like, okay, this feels right. And it was such a great experience to be working with them. Yeah.
There you go. And then I wanted to talk about like the kind of choreography, especially in the beginning. Haven does this huge kind of Broadway scene. Did you bring in a choreographer, and like how did that all work?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, like, hats off to Haven for learning that dance within a day. No joke, a day. She was incredible. But yes, we did bring a choreographer. He was a friend of one of our associate producers in New York. And we brought him and his assistant choreographer down for 3 days. And so, and the assistant choreographer, Louis, is the choreographer in the movie. So what happened was the first day they came down, we had local dancers who wanted to be part of this film, and they had their own rehearsal time. And then immediately they saw Haven and taught her during our lunch break while we were still on set, teaching her this dance. And then the next day we had a dance rehearsal the day we were shooting, and Haven again is just like going full out. I'm like, I cannot believe this girl is learning this dance. Like, I didn't know how hard it was going to be. And I was like, this is pretty hard. Haven, like, again, just like, I was so in awe by her, just like how good she was getting it together in such a short amount of time. And then we shot the scene within 4 hours. So it was just like a crazy turnaround for everyone, but Haven nailed it, and I'm just like in awe of her and the dancers too for learning it so quickly and pulling it off.
Yeah, I remember. So I thought we were gonna have. I was hoping someone could just like play like my body double for it, because growing up, like I I have two sisters.
Oh, she froze.
I'll just be like the strongest dancer. So it was one of those things where I was like, oh, Mallory, this part where she's supposed to be doing a dance scene, I don't know how I feel about that. But we were shooting the part before the day before that, we were shooting the celebratory scene. And then every time afterwards, like whenever Mallory would call cut, Louis would come in and chime in, and like we'd learn a 1/8 count. And then like whenever it was time to go back to shooting the celebratory like lechon scene, then I'd go back into that scene, and then she'd call cut, and then we'd learn another 8 count. And then that night, my parents were visiting at the time, so that night after we finished shooting, after like X amount of hours, I went into the gym of the hotel room, because I was like, I am not gonna be embarrassing this, like, you know what I mean? I didn't want to be the person to be like, if this is the top of the movie, like, so my dad, it was so sweet. My dad like rested on one of like the benches, because he was like, I don't want you to be up, at 2 a.m, like in the hotel room gym. And I'm like, I'm fine. And so he just like sat with me while I rehearsed the choreography. And then the next morning I snuck in, because technically I wasn't allowed to be there. And JB, he was really strict. Yeah, JB was the assistant director, and he was like, you're not supposed to be here yet. And I was like, I just want to hang out with the dancers and get to know them. But really I was like, 1 and 2, 3 and more, trying to get another extra rehearsal in, because I just wasn't confident. I was like, once I feel confident, I know I can act like I'm confident, like to a certain degree. And so I'm just grateful we got the shot, because she's Louise. I think that was probably one of the very hard things that we had to experience, but it was really, really worth it to see it like turn out well. So I'm really happy about that.
Nice. Excuse me. Great. That was a great opening scene, and yes, all the dancing was great. Sorry. I wanted to talk about, I'm sorry, I'm just blanking out for a second. Talk about the Emmy and Haven, your kind of experiences working together as mother and daughter. How did you guys feel with all those scenes? You guys had the most like more dramatic scenes together. What was your experiences like with working with each other?
We had never met, and we met at the reading, and there's a big age difference between Haven and I was like, we may not have very much in common behind the scenes. So I'll just I'll have the maternal feelings hopefully flowing. And I'm going to, think of my niece because I'm very close to my niece. But we met, and you meet Haven in real life and you just fall in love because she's an open book, so sweet, so kind. But what sold me was we got into an Uber and she gave me the seat in the car and she took the non-seat, like the hump in the car in the back. It was like a Suburban. And I was like, now this is a very kind person. She's the youngest in her family. I'm the youngest in my family. I was like, wow. Because I would always get the hump in my family. And I was like, that is a nice person. Then we went to Jeepney and she bought me Halo Halo. And she's younger than me. And I'm like, oh my God, I should buy her Halo Halo. She's so kind. So we got along really, like, it was just a seamless friendship from the beginning. And I think it really paid off in the film because we just got along so well. I'm going to let you speak, Haven.
Yeah, no, honestly, when I first met Emmy, I mean, Emmy is just so lovable. You're so open, and she was just it was so easy to love her, and she was funny, and she made everything feel so comfortable. And I was saying even last night in the interview that, like, I knew there was something magical about us being able to work together in this way. And for her, when she told me about how she booked this, like, she felt like it was something that her dad gave her, after he passed. I felt so connected to her story and how she got on board, and I had my own personal spiritual connection to how I got on board too. And so I felt like honored that I got to meet her and be, working with her on this level. So every moment was just a moment I still continue to cherish. We're still really close. So and it's that much easier. Like, she's just so funny, and like she'll jab. It was just so awesome. I felt like she was part of my family from day one. So
Haven still calls me Nanai. I still call her Anak when we text or call each other. So we still have that kind of friendship. But I will say she's much more mature than I am. And as somebody who took on the lead title role, she really took it by the bullhorns. Like you were, at the beginning, Melanie, you were saying, what was it like working with some seasoned actors? And I just give it up to Haven because she was in every single scene, I think, except for one. And her schedule was nonstop. And even like you said, during breaks, she would be doing that choreography, and I was like, where's the food? Give me some food. I need a break. And she was still working. So she was a pro. Like I learned from watching her, how not to be jaded.
So we're a little bit, we have about 5 minutes left. So just each one of you guys want to tell us what's up next for each of you guys. What should we be looking forward to?
Mallory, what's up for this film that you can share with us?
Well, this film will be, we're going to Cannes Film Festival. So if you haven't seen it yet, it'll be California-wide, October 14th through 18th. And there are other film festivals along the way, but if you follow our Instagram and Facebook, you'll know where to see it. We're at Girl Who Left Home. What I'm really excited about is this script in particular was chosen to be part of the theater accelerator program run by two really wonderful and generous Broadway producers, and they have been helping myself, Steve, and Alex to produce this this script into a staged show. So more details on that when something else happens, but right now it's just in development, and hopefully within a year or two you'll see it on stage, maybe with the group of people here now. So yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyone
yeah.
else? Anyone else have stuff going on?
You go ahead, Paolo.
Is it all right if I do a quick little plug?
Plug yourself. Yes.
Yeah. All right, cool. So sometime this fall, RNH, which is Rogers and Hammerstein, they have this YouTube kind of episodic series, and this one is particularly called RNH Goes Pop. And what they do is they take classic RNH songs and they put a pop sheen on it. So I was my own audio engineer, and I laid down tracks for an updated version of 10 Minutes Ago, which is from Cinderella. And then I made my directorial debut. Now, I hope you're going to be proud of me on this. I made my directorial debut shooting a music video. And it's probably the silliest thing I've ever done, next to playing Tito Tony. So I'm really stoked about it. And please watch it when, when I'm able to send the details out for it. Thanks.
Nice. Haven.
So how will we be able to hear about that, Paolo?
Oh, I'll probably send something out on Instagram or Twitter or something like that. I'll just text you, Emmy. I'll just text you.
Okay.
Just text you, girl.
I have a film that's out right now on Amazon called First One In, and it's a comedy. And then I have another film that's coming out in the Austin Film Festival called The Catch. And then I'm gonna vote. That's what I got planned.
And for me, I've just been working on social media and also working on original music that I hope to release before Christmas. So it's still in the works. I've just been working with a producer, getting back on writing and creating my own sound. So it's definitely a journey, but I'm excited to share it with everyone. It's more like R&B, soul, pop. So yeah.
Awesome. We look forward to it. Thank you guys for coming and conversating with us. That's all we have time for today. Don't forget you can still watch The Girl Who Left Home. It's still streaming on the LA Pacific Film Festival site. You could go to festival.vcmedia.org and check out the schedule. And then if you enjoyed this conversation and the festival lineup, please consider donating to Visual Communications. Your support will help sustain our year-round operation and programming. Go to vcmedia.org for more information. For the more recent updates on the festival, please visit festival.vcmedia.org or follow us on social media accounts at VC Film Festival, and don't forget to tag us #LAAPFF 2020, and please stick around for our next conversation, which will be the Panais, who are pipelining new talent at NBC Universal. Thank you so much, guys.
Can we take a photo before we go?
Sure.
Yay! Okay, I'm gonna take a screenshot. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Got it. Thank you guys. Thank you, VC.